Hi everyone, welcome to another Sunday Maker Team video. So today I want to show you this 4-way treat box with a card, with an easel card as well. Now I first saw this on Joe Blackman's YouTube channel. She did it a while ago and I really liked it. It was really nice. I've seen similar things on Pinterest. She didn't do the card on the top, she just did it as a gift box. But I saw another gift box that was sort of similar and it had like a little card on the top, and I quite like that idea of having like your little easel on the top, so when they get it they can just pop it up and they've got a little easel card. You could write your greeting in there, and it all sort of comes as one, so that I quite like that idea. So yeah, and then each of these drawers just pulls out, so you've got one on each side. So one there, one there, one there, and one there. And obviously you could bling up your drawers a lot more than I have. It's nice and sturdy, quite a decent size. This one actually measures, it is 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, and then the height, excluding the thing on the top, is about 1 1/4 inches high. So yes, it's really nice, decent size. Your drawers are a decent size. You know, your drawers are quite a good size, as you can see. So you can get quite a lot in there. So it'd be a really nice little gift box to give for Christmas and also for birthdays or any occasion really. For this I have used all Trimcraft, DRK Crafts, Dovecraft, first edition, whatever products. I think most of this is Dovecraft actually. So this is the Little Red Robin and Friends paper pad. I think they're out of stock at the moment, but the decoupage pad was still in stock when I last checked. So that's what I've used for this and this. And then I've just used red cardstock and green cardstock. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So let's get into it. Okay, so for this box you're going to need 4 pieces that are 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And you're going to go ahead and score them at 1 3/8 and 2 3/4 on all 4 sides. So you're literally going to be 1 3/8, 2 3/4, turn it, 1 3/8, 2 3/4, turn it, 1 3/8, 2 3/4, and then 1 3/8, 2 3/4. That's how you're going to do it. Okay, I've already scored mine. And then what we're going to do is we are going to start at the bottom here, and this bottom centre, so you've got 1, 2 squares, then a rectangle, then 2 squares. So this middle rectangle here, we're just going to notch that rectangle like this, just a little bit. And then we're going to cut all the way up the side here, just straight. And you can use a Stanley knife if you would rather, or craft knife if you'd rather, or trim or whatever. And then what we're going to do is we are then going to notch this. We need to take out these 3 pieces here though, so I'm going to do that now. So we'll take that one out, and then we're going to notch this one here, and we're going to notch over this side here, and then we're also going to notch over this side here as well. So that's what it looks like. So next we're going to do the same on this side. So I'm going to cut out these 3 here. So I'm going to sort of do it backwards. I'm going to notch this bit here. And then I am going to cut all the way across here. And then we just want to notch this tab out the same as what you've seen already. So you end up with that. So then I'm going to turn it round and exactly repeat, mirror image of what I've done on that side over here. Okay, so that's what you should end up with. So now we're just going to go and mountain fold all of our score lines. Okay, so that's what you end up with. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead now and stick our box together. So we'll start with here. So where you've got these little flaps, this piece here needs to come straight down. Don't do it with these 2. So only do it with the ones that have the little flaps either side. So this one and this one, you're just going to go ahead, add some glue on and stick that down. You want to make sure if you're using red tape or if you're using glue that you do actually stick it with the with it all fully glued. Don't just put a bit on the edge. You want to make sure that whole section is glued, because in a minute we're going to cut a little finger hole out of one side. So we're going to stick that down on there, and then I'm also going to do the one opposite while that one dries. As I said, if you want to use red tape you can. Just make sure that you're nicely, your glue's nicely spread out. And I'm also going to just give that a bit of extra burnish. Okay, so then on this one here, I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm just going to measure it about halfway. So it's actually, this bit here measures about 2 3/4. So half of 2 3/4. I'm just going to measure halfway. So about 1 3/8. I'm going to make a little mark because that's halfway, and then I'm going to get my punch, and I'm using a 1.5 inch Dovecraft punch. Anything similar would be fine. And then what you want to do is this is going to go in, and you just want to make a bit of a hole. Don't go too far down, about like there, I reckon. And you want to make sure it's central left and right, which I think mine is pretty much. And then we're going to go ahead and, oops, daisy, and punch it. My finger slipped. Okay, so you should end up with that. One thing to note as well is you want to do, your card needs to be relatively thick. This is about a 300 GSM. I wouldn't go too much less than that, maybe a 280, maybe. You want it to be quite sturdy, but I also wouldn't go too thick with it, because if you go too much thicker, you're going to have problems then fitting it into the wrap. Some of my drawers that I've already pre-made, the other 3, some of them are a bit difficult to get out, so just be aware of that. Right, so once you've done that, then what you want to do is these flaps here, you're going to put glue on those, and they're going to come forward like that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Again, if you want to use red tape, you can. It just needs to be something that's nice and strong. So that one's going to go on there. Let's do one at a time. Then we fold that up, make sure that that bit's in line with that crease line there, and then that's going to stick down. And then we're going to do the same with the other side. Okay, and then once you've stuck those two in, we're just going to put glue on this bit here, or red tape, and the whole thing's going to fold over and stick down. And what I would say to do, if you're using wet glue, just get like a peg or something and just peg it into place. Or hold it, whatever, just to make sure it definitely sticks nicely and it all holds in to place. I'm actually going to put a few pegs on just to make sure I'm kind of grabbing all areas of it. So while that's drying, we can go ahead and do exactly the same up here. So we're going to put red tape on these edges and then fold it over and stick it down. Okay, so while that's drying all nicely stuck together, I'm just going to leave that to dry. You need to bring in another piece of card, and this one is 9 inches by 3 3/8. And on this one, you just want to score along the long edge at 2 13/16. Now that is a complicated measurement. So basically, what I've done is, so it's 2 13/16. So I kind of made a mark where 2 3/4 and 2 7/8 was, and then scored in between that, because I don't have 16ths on my scoreboard. So it's 2 13/16, i.e. in between 2 3/4 and 2 7/8, and then at 4 1/4, at 7 1/16, so that's in between 7 inches and 1/8. Okay, so just go in between those two lines, and then at 8 1/2. And then what you want to do is you want to flip it around, and on the short side you're going to score at 2 13/16. So that's again between 2 3/4 and 2 7/8. Okay, so you want to score that. Now I know those measurements are a little bit tricky, but I'm afraid it's just so that it will wrap around the box. Okay, so on this one, what we want to do is we're going to cut. So I've got a big square here, then rectangle, then big square, then rectangle, then tab. So on the big square piece, I'm just going to notch this bottom section. So where your bottom score line is, your bottom tab is, you're just going to notch out here and then again here. In fact, here what you can do if you want is if you fold it in half, you can then just cut up, and you're doing both at the same time. So And the same here, just fold it down your line and then cut up and notch both at the same time. And you can do that all the way along. And then at the end here, again, just do the same thing again, but this time, once you've notched here, you're also going to come in here and just notch this bit here and this bit here. So you end up with that. So if we flip it over, you also need to make sure, actually before we flip it over, let's go ahead and just properly burnish all of our score lines. Okay, so that's what you should end up with. Now, if you want to, you can leave off these pieces and just have it, like, obviously, like, you know, with just that. The reason why we've got these pieces is just so you've got a nice folded edge on the edge of where your box goes in. It does add a bit extra bulk, so if you find that you can't get your drawer in and out, then you might do well to trim those off, okay? But I'm going to leave them on because I think that they'll be fine for me. So then what I want to do is go ahead and glue this one, and this one. Don't do this one yet. It's just these first three that are next to the tab. So I'm going to go ahead now and just stick all of these down like that and let them dry. Okay, so you should end up with that. So then you're going to fold over this first bit. You're going to put some red tape or glue on there. And then we're going to stick this box together. So I'm going to put a bit of glue on there. And then I'm going to fold this over like that and stick that down. So that then makes your wrap. And then what we want to do is put a bit of glue or tape on the reverse bit of this tab here and do the same as we did with the other ones. The reason why you put this down last is just so then it covers up the tab you've just stuck. And then you're not going to get, your drawer's not going to get stuck on it. Okay, so I've just stuck that down inside there like that. Okay, so while that one's just drying, I'm going to show you. So this is what you should end up with. You should end up with a drawer. Now, as you can see, mine are quite tight. And this is what I was saying, you need to just double check. This one's very tight, actually. There we go. Yeah, so you should end up with a drawer with a little wrap on it. I think this one's a bit less. Yeah, this one's okay. This one opens up okay. This one's a bit tight. So what I would do is, you know, like when we stuck that flat, and that one's fine as well. This one, it's just this one's a little bit on the tight side. So what I would do is when you're sticking your wraps down, as I've just done with this one, I stuck it flat, but actually this bit was overhanging slightly, so I've just sort of pushed it back so it's in line, and then that will give you a bit more room. The other thing as well, as I said, is if you want to not stick these flaps and just have a cut edge, so if essentially you'd have that on the edge rather than having the flap, you know, the folded edge, you can also do that as well. So just try it with your card. It will vary depending on what card you're using. So that's the other one done. So let's just bring my other one back in. Okay, and then that one should hopefully fit nicely in there. Yeah, that's a good one. That fits nicely. Okay, so there's your 4 drawers done. So now we need to move on to the base. So for the base, you're going to need two pieces of thick mount board or card or something along those lines. So I've used this from an old, like, so you know when you get a paper pad, they always have this thick card on the back of them. Well, most of them do. So I tend to keep those. When I finish the paper pad, or, you know, it's looking like it's getting a bit depleted, I will keep these. And so that's what you want. Something that's relatively thick. This one's a bit more flimsy than I might want, but then I think for my, yeah, you can use, as I said, mount board if you want to, or anything that's thick, basically. So what you want to do, these need to be 6 1/8 by 6 1/8. And you're going to go ahead and you need pattern paper, 2 pieces of pattern paper that are 7 1/2 by 7 1/2. And what, if you want to, you can score them, but what I would do is take your pattern paper, lie it down flat, put this over the top, and then what I would do is I would actually draw around this, because in a minute, or just around the corners anyway, you just draw around the corners here, like this. Oops. Okay, so that shows where my card is going to go. You then want to take your scissors and you just want to snip off these corners. But what you want to do is when you snip the corners off, you want to make sure you're leaving like a tiny little gap, like about 1/8 of an inch, something along those lines, from the top of your snipping to the top of that corner. Okay, because it's just going to make it a little bit neater when you come to sticking this down. Okay, so that's that. Obviously it's not perfect, but it's fine because most of that is going to be hidden. So now I'm going to go ahead, put this on here, and before I start sticking it down, I'm just going to bring up the side of my paper like this and just kind of get it used to the, you know, creasing up around, folding up around the side of my card. And this way you can just kind of coax it into place before you've actually fully stuck it. So once you've got it so it kind of knows what it's doing, you then just want to go ahead and put some glue on here, or tape, but whatever you do, make sure it's nice and strong. It's not going to come off, it's not going to warp it, and you're just covering all over. I would use a decent weight of paper as well. This is actually a this is from the Little Red Robin and Friends, this paper, pattern paper, and so that's about a 160, 180, something like that. So it's quite a decent weight. So you want to go ahead and stick that down, and then we are going to go ahead and glue all of these tabs and stick those over the top like that. So you want to do that to both your pieces of mount board, and then what you want to do is you need 2 pieces of either a matte card, or I've gone for another pattern, and these need to be 6 by 6. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and over the top here, you're going to go ahead and stick your mat or pattern or whatever it is you've chosen, and it just hides all of that workings. You've got a little bit of border, it makes it look a bit neater, and that is going to get stuck over the top. Okay, so you end up with 2 pieces of board that basically look like that. So now we're ready to start decorating up our boxes. If you want to, you can just leave your boxes like this and not, you know, do any more to it. They're going to go on this way round. So I'm going to show you how they're going to go on first, and then I'm going to decorate up the sides of mine because I just think it needs it. So what we're going to do is they're going to go on sort of like a windmill type arrangement. So you've got this bit, obviously, is your finger hole. So that's going to go on there like that. There's my finger hole. This one's going to go pointing the other way. You want to make sure that they're okay next to each other. Then this one here is going to go facing out. And this one here is going to go facing forwards. So you've got one facing this way, and that way. Okay, I'm just thinking I'm probably going to stick these down first, actually, get them into position, and then I know where I need to be, you know, decorating. So with that, I'm just going to make sure this is definitely that even border, and it is. And so we're going to go around now and stick them down one by one, and you just want to make sure that they're in the right place and that your drawers are all the right way up. And I would use a good glue or red tape, even something that's really going to stick well. And then we're just going to go ahead and stick these down. Okay, so that's those stuck down. Now you will notice when I took the drawers out, they wobble a bit because they're not obviously stuck on these lines, because you can't, because you'd end up sticking the drawers together. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stick the top on, and that will secure everything in place. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this on. So I'm going to put glue on all 4 pieces. The other thing I found better to do is just once you've glued them down, if you're using red tape, it's not quite some, well no, but it's still, you probably need to do red tape as well. Is I just took the drawers out very carefully and then just press down inside just to make sure that it's not just like, you know, the front bit that's stuck. So we're going to take our top. I'm just going to make sure my snowmen are all going the right way. So that's that way, like that, and then this is going to go on top. So what we're going to do is make sure, so I'm going to stick it where I think it's going to go, and then I'm going to flip it over and just make sure my borders are all even. Okay, so this is the other joy of using wet glue. And actually as well, with it like this, I can do exactly what I've done before, and I can just flip all the drawers out carefully and just give it a good press down inside. So I'm just going to take my drawer out one by one and then just give it a good press down inside to make sure it's fully stuck. Okay, so you're going to need 4 pieces that are 1 1/4 by 2 5/8, and these are all going to go around the outside, and I'm just putting them here. If you want to do them here as well, you need to obviously do that before you stick everything down, because you're going to have to cut little holes out. I'm not going to bother that. I'm just going to literally stick them on the sides here, and then what I'll probably do is I might put some gems on here just to kind of, you know, bling it up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead now and stick these 4 pieces down. Okay, so if you want to, you can stop here and just decorate your top and you're done. I wanted to put a card on top as well, like an easel card. I'd seen something similar on Pinterest. I've seen a few people actually do this, where they've done like a similar kind of box, and then they've got an easel type card on the top. So I wanted to do that as well, because I thought it looked really cool. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of card that is 5 inches by 11 inches. I've scored it in half at 5 inches, and then at 2 3/4, so 2 3/4 and then 5 1/2. And then I've got a piece of matte. Now if your matte is not pale, then you will need a piece of white as well on top, but mine isn't. Mine's already, I'm going to go with like an off-white. So this piece is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead now and just stick this down. And then I've just stuck it on the inside of the card. So your base card just needs to have both mounting folds. And then what you want to do, I'm just going to burnish mine, is you're going to get yourself 2 pieces of matte, and these are 2 1/2 by 5 1/4, and they're going to go here and here. And you also want 2 pieces of pattern that are 2 1/4 by 5. You're actually going to end up with 3 pieces of pattern that are 2 1/4 by 5, but for the purposes of this front bit, you just want 2, and then your third piece, just leave that to one side. So I'm going to go ahead, stick the pattern onto the mat, and then put both panels onto here. Okay, so I've stuck those 2 pieces down, and if we open up, this last piece of pattern paper is just going to go at the bottom here. So you've still got space to write, but this, you will see most of this. I'm going to go ahead and stick this one down. Okay, so with this like that, I've got some of this decoupage out. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead now and just stick, I've just taken one layer off, and then the little bit that is for the bow, and we're going to stick that together. Okay, so once you've stuck that down, you just need to let a bit of time for it to dry. Mine's kind of dry now. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to add this on. I'm just going to stick the bottom half. So if I just turn this over, and I'm just going to glue the bottom half of my greeting onto the bottom half of the card. Okay, so I've stuck that down, and then all we need to do is add a little stopper. So I've got this little with love greeting that came out of the same decoupage pad. I'm going to go ahead and add some foam pad to the bottom of it, and then stick it down so it acts like a stopper. So I'm going to put it about, I think I want it about there. So I'm going to put this in so it's about halfway, like that. And then when this stands up, it will just prop itself up on there like that. So now we can go ahead and add this onto the top of our box. So I'm just going to stick that on there like that. Okay, so I've stuck that down. So that is what the final box looks like. And obviously you can just, I might put some gems on here, I'm not sure, just to gem up the drawers a little bit more. So that's what it looks like. And then you've obviously got space there to write. It folds. That folds down like that. You're obviously not going to put it in an envelope because it's a gift box. But then obviously this just pops up. And you've got a little easel card on top of your box. It's all nice and neat. So yeah, so that's the video for today. So please go and check out drkcrafts.co.uk. go and look at their things. I think that this paper pad is now out of stock, but when I last looked, the decoupage pad was still in stock. They've also got a paper pad over their first edition 12 Days of Christmas, which is quite similar colours. The two might go together. I haven't tried them, but there are greens and reds in it, so you might get lucky. But yeah, it's a nice little make. Obviously, you don't have to do the card on the top if you don't want to. You could just, you know, do it as a box. But yeah, you really could do all sorts of things with that. So I hope you have a go. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.